Thanks for joining us on Tandem Radio for a very special segment, By Design, focused on helping you understand how God designed you so that you may be healthy and productive in fulfilling God's purposes in your life for many years to come. Now let's join our host, health expert and public speaker, Dr. James Proodian.
Welcome to the By Design radio program. My name is Dr. James Proodian of Proodian Healthcare and ProodianHealthcare.com, where health literacy is the key to longevity. And as long as God has us on this side of eternity, my show is designed to educate you and your families to feel better, function better, and live as many quality, disease-free years as possible. Thanks for joining me this week as we come off of last week's show on structural integrity, which is one of the foundational subject matters for the By Design radio program. By Design's show, if you're new, I think we're at show number 39 or so. If you're a new listener, and every week in my office, Natural Healthcare Center down in Long Branch, more and more of you are listening, and I greatly appreciate it, and commenting on the show. And if you're a new listener, please go to tandemradio.com, where on Tandem there is an archive list of the By Design programs. Also on my YouTube channel, you could find that as well. As I've shared with you in the past, I have nothing to sell you other than giving you information. I tried to provide my audiences information that is practical, that they could use on their day-to-day with their families and with their friends. I've been a public speaker for 20 years. I run a program called Wellness at Work, which is a company that comes to your company throughout New Jersey. I have spoken at hundreds, if not, I don't know if I'm over 1,000 yet, of companies that we provide free educational programs in the way of lunch and learns and keynote addresses. And from my experience as a public speaker, Tandem Radio was nice enough to ask me to do this program, which now, as I hopefully am getting better at it week by week, because it's very different speaking to a microphone and a wall in front of me than audiences of hundreds of people. So we're on the, last week we left off and I explained to you the structure and functions of a cell. And it was a good topic, I think. I got some feedback, and you guys understand that we start off as 2 cells and we grow into a big bag of trillions and trillions of cells. And it's the miracle of life, how God has provided us the infrastructure to allow 2 cells to multiply billions and billions and trillions of times to differentiate themselves into a variety of cells that make up the human body, which is biology, or the study of life. So as we start each show off, we will start with our Bible verse, Luke 1:37, "For with God nothing is impossible." And the show takes on the approach that the better educated we're on with God's design and not man's design for us. And if we follow God's design in the triad of health, which is the physical, the nutritional, and the psychological approach that He provided for us to follow, we have I believe, and studies show, the ability to feel better, to function better, and to live better quality years. Man's design is typically a polluted one with its man-made food, poor environment, which leads to a stressful environment, and lack of physical or proper physical exercise. So last week, as we covered the cellular parts and function, their design, we did a little research, or read to you some research on processed meats and cancer. We talked about sodium nitrates. And what the show is all about, and through my blog, I blog on this weekly at drproodian.com, it's all about the knowledge that exists right now. And what I mean by that is the knowledge that we have right now is non-debatable. We know that food is medicine. We know that certain types of food, man-made food, promotes chronic illness. It promotes type 2 diabetes and heart disease and cancer. We know a stressful environment environment does exactly the same thing, which is why so many of you ladies out there, and I see in private practice, at the age of 30, 40 years old, have underactive thyroid or gaining weight in the midsection or in the rump and in the thighs, even well before menopause, before the imbalance of hormones takes place. Why is that? Well, following a man-made model, as we know as Christians, and we know by following his word, man and his model, even in the world of health, and shows ago I did sick care versus health care. We live in a sick care system. Sick care is, and I'm sick, I go to the doctor, a pill for every ill, and that type of an approach. Whereas being a proactive member, a proactive educated person who is going to utilize the science at hand, which again is non-debatable, in the world of functional medicine or in the world of nutritional medicine, a holistic medicine, ways to prevent illness by using his design is what By Design is all about, and that's why I named the show that. So it all starts with the cell, because at the very end of the day, we are a network, a web of trillions and trillions of cells that talk to one another, and all of those cells require things. Well, they require the 5 essentials to life, which I did way back in shows probably 2, 3, or 4, which is protein, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, and water. Those 5 things are the essentials to life. Without one of them, you would not be here. So God designed the cell, and we went through the parts of the cell, like the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, the nucleus, the ribosome, the mitochondria, the vacuoles, the Golgi bodies, and this amazing network. And hopefully you went and looked up this stuff. I told you to go to a browser, look up or plug in their cellular design and watch some of the really cool videos on what a cell looks like and how it works, because just one of those cells man has never been able to duplicate. And every day when we hold a little baby in our arms, well, not every day, but when we hold a little baby in our arms and you look that 9 months ago, that little infant 9 months ago was 2 cells, and that's the power. That is the power of God. That is the power of creation, meaning that, like Luke 1:37, for with God nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible with the resiliency, okay, of each one of those cells. And when you talk about cellular health, you have to talk about cancer. It just goes hand in hand, because cellular health will dictate many times whether or not we allow cancerous cells to grow within us. And that is the subject matter for today. As we talk about today and we get into today's show, we want to talk about man's premature aging and death to ourselves. And I kind of just explained that. Man has implemented an environment to allow cells, cancerous cells, to grow, for us to prematurely age. 1/3 of Americans die from a form of cancer. And the cancer research and having better habits can help us greatly reduce our statistical chances to getting cancer. So let's take a look at some of this, and let's get involved into how we're going to protect and nourish each one of those beautiful cells within us. And shut your eyes and think about the fact that those 2 cells that maybe you looked at it under a microscope way back in biology class in high school, try to go back there with me. Try to go back to when you learned about a cell membrane or the nucleus of a cell, and how DNA, and you see those strands of DNA. If you ever watched the Science Channel, they have great visuals of this stuff, that each one of these cells with genetics, chromosomes, and the way genetics works, and how each cell could replicate a duplicate image of itself. Looking at the way that happens in us each day, we want to nourish the structural integrity of our body by understanding what cellular design is and how we participate in its very individual strength, endurance, and yes, rejuvenation. So John Hopkins recently has published something, and I'm going to read it to you. Every person has cancer cells in their body. Maybe you don't know that, but right now we have cancer cells in our body. These cancer cells do not show up on standardized tests until they have multiplied to a few billion. What that means is you have white blood cells in your body, differentiated type of cell they're designed to eat the bad guys. Think of Pac-Man. And you have different types of cells that go out and eat these bad guys. And when it's come across a cancer cell, you have an immune system, which we went over a few shows ago, that's designed that you're empowered to fight off these bad guys. So as your body produces cancer cells, your body is also designed to eat them up. But when your body can't keep up at the rate the cancer cells are being created, then eventually we develop cancer that can be detected on standard tests. When doctors tell cancer patients that there's no more cancer cells in the body after treatment, it just means the tests are unable to detect the cancer cells because they have not reached the detectable size yet. So when a person's immune system is strong, the cancer cells will be destroyed and preventing from multiplying and forming tumors. When a person has cancer, it indicates the person has nutritional deficiencies. These could be due to genetic, but also environmental, food, and lifestyle factors. So cancer and the proliferation of cancer cells is directly tied to our environment, our food, and lifestyle. To overcome the multiple nutritional deficiencies, changing diet to eat more adequately and healthy 4 to 5 times a day, and including supplements will strengthen the immune system. That's one of your takeaways. Let's talk about chemotherapy. Chemotherapy involves poisoning the rapidly growing cancer cells and also destroys rapidly growing healthy cells in the bone marrow, the gastrointestinal tract, etc., and can cause organ damage like liver, kidney, heart, lungs, etc. So with chemotherapy, which is important to kill the cancer cells, the byproduct of it is also can damage good, healthy tissue. That's not to say that chemotherapy is not important, and it is important, but it's just a fact that we need to be aware of that chemotherapy also damages good stuff. Radiation, while destroying cancer cells, also burns, scars, and damages healthy cells. So that's the way chemotherapy and radiation work. When the body has too much of a toxic burden from chemotherapy and radiation, the immune system is either compromised or destroyed. Hence, the person can succumb to various kinds of infections and complications. Maybe you have a loved one, maybe you've been through this, but the patient who's under chemotherapy and radiation can actually end up with a life-threatening infection or complication because the immune system becomes so damaged due to the chemotherapy and radiation. Once again, that's not to say the chemotherapy and radiation are not important. So chemotherapy and radiation can cause cancer cells to mutate and become resistant and difficult to destroy. Surgery can also cause cancer cells to spread to other sites. So our cancer cells, let's talk about them for a second. Here we are. Let's say that the cancer cells have proliferated to a certain number, and now it's detectable. What actually do these cancer cells feed on? All of the new research that's coming out right now, we realize that cancer loves sugar, loves to consume and grow with sugar. Now, Americans consume 150 pounds of table sugar and additives a year. We used to consume about 15 to 20 pounds back in the 30s and 40s. So Americans are eating a copious amount of not only sugar, but the wrong types of sugar substitutes like NutraSweet, Equal, Spoonful, and they're made up of aspartame, which is very harmful. So we have to be careful. This is why when a patient has cancer, sugar is like kryptonite. We do not want to be feeding cancer cells. Milk causes the body to produce mucus, especially in the GI tract. Cancer feeds on mucus. So by cutting off milk and substituting with like unsweetened soy milk, cancer cells can be starved. That's very important because here we have sugar and milk, because of the mucus, feed cancer cells. Cancer cells thrive in an acidic environment. Well, what makes you have an acidic environment? A meat-based diet. A meat-based diet is acidic, and it's best to eat fish and a little other, a little of other meat like chicken. Meat also contains livestock antibiotics, growth hormones, and parasites, which are all harmful, especially to people with cancer. Remember, go back to our nutritional shows. What are we designed to eat? I'm not saying we're not designed to eat meat, but grass-fed meat, but an abundance of fruits and vegetables, particularly vegetables. And if you want to learn about cancer, how to starve cancer, you may want to look up Joel Fuhrman. Joel Fuhrman is a Jersey doctor, a medical doctor, has written some great books on cancer and what it really means to fast and starve cancer cells. Now, next one, avoid coffee, tea, and chocolate, which are high in caffeine. Green tea is a much better alternative and has cancer-fighting properties. Water is best to drink purified or filtered. Do not drink distilled water, okay? That's acidic. Meat protein is difficult to digest and requires a lot of digestive enzymes. So once again, we're going to try to avoid meat. Cancer cell walls have a very tough protein covering. So by refraining from eating meat, it frees more enzymes to attack the protein walls of the cancer cells and allows the body's killer cells to destroy those cancer cells. So once again, we're going to really avoid the meat, particularly people with cancer. Supplements. Antioxidants prevent cancer. My favorites, vitamin A in the form of beta-carotene, vitamin E, vitamin C, a mineral, selenium, all wonderful antioxidants which prevent or help to prevent cancer. We want to give up being angry and having an unforgiven spirit about us. We want to walk with God and really let go of all that negative behavior. Cancer thrives in a stressful environment. Don't put your body into even more stress. Really learn how to be loving, have a forgiving spirit, learn to relax and enjoy life. Even, I know a lot of people with cancer or cancer survivors, and having that support group is essential. Remember, we're trying to protect those cells. Cancer cells thrive in this kind of a bad environment. So we want to exercise daily, deep breathing, and remember, no plastic containers in the microwave, no bottled waters in the freezer that releases dioxins, and please no plastic wrap in the microwave. Let's not release dioxins into our food. If you're going to heat something up in a microwave, go to Corningware. You want glass. You want to heat things in Corningware. You do not want to put your food in a microwave in anything other than a glass container. Guys, thanks for listening to me this week, By Design radio program. I really hope you enjoyed today's show, and if you didn't catch last week's show, go get caught up on structural integrity, as I'm going to continue this conversation into the next few weeks. We want to protect ourselves. We want to protect our cells, each one of those beautiful cells that God gave us, with a nurturing, loving environment, with strong foods that God made, and with good, strong physical exercise and great deep breathing and a good amount of sleep. Enjoy your week. God bless you, and be well.
You've been listening to By Design with Dr. James Proodian of Proodian Healthcare. To learn more, visit us at tandemradio.com. That's tandemradio.com, or on Facebook. And don't forget to email us with your questions. We'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, hope you have a healthy week, and we look forward to you joining us next time for more fantastic insights from Dr. James Proodian on By Design, a special production of Tandem Radio.